So now we're recording. Okay. So good evening again, and welcome to the front lines.
I'm back on. Can you hear me?
I can, Dan. I can hear you. You're a little shaky right now, but go ahead, keep talking. I figure like it'll get better.
Yeah. But the internet, I don't know how long it will hold back.
Yeah, I gather.
It could be, but at least maybe.
Yeah.
At least.
Oh, okay. Yep. A little rough. Well, Dan, if you can call in or there's any way you can get in, we'll be here. But just to let everybody know, this did happen. And these are some facts that you're not going to hear, definitely not in the mainstream media because they don't want to talk about it. But but you know what? It's funny. I think the mainstream media will start to respond once they realize this. So there is a reality taking place right now that the banks have been operating in a state of negative liquidity. And over this past week or last weekend, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase, and I'm not sure if that means he's also over Morgan Stanley as well, which is just another, like the private side, I guess, of Chase. But basically, he contacted Kim as well as the CEO for TD Bank and the CEO of the Royal Bank of Canada. And they let Kim know, I believe that Chase Bank was like $69 trillion deficit. And then TD Bank and Royal Bank of Canada, I think we're somewhere in the range of 29 trillion in the negative. And there's also a major catastrophe brewing because there's 220 trillion, that's with a T, in derivatives that are about to hit the public. Now, that would be the roughly the annual GDP of the entire globe is $140 trillion. So that is almost 2 times, 2 years of the global GDP. And they called Kim and they wanted her to correct the problem. But basically Kim's like, you can't correct that problem. There's no way to do it because, and she's been doing all she can to work with these people. And then, of course, true to form, and hey, good for them for, actually turning their backs on their slave masters and actually trying to reach out to Kim at least. And so now there'll have to be a new system put in place. And, but it would appear that the banks are actually going to crash. Now, I say that also knowing that, Kim doesn't want people to get hurt. So what that's going to look like next, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure. But what I expect is that what I know is that she has made other arrangements and to make sure that people are able to get money. And I think that that's going to be very important. Oh, there's Dan. Hey, Dan Lutz, you have reached the front lines with Dan and Dank. Are you there? Dan Lutz, are you there? Dan Lutz is not there. He's trying though. He's trying. He's a soldier. So long story short, you basically have a catastrophic failure of the bank system that is actually pending right now. Now, that is definitely a reality. There's nothing left for them to do. Their there's Vax port system, the way that they would transfer money from bank to bank, has been eliminated. It's completely shut down. All of the various hacking systems they have been blocked. All the siphon systems no longer have access. And I know that Kim ran her new system overnight to make sure that all the malware was removed and all the, any way that they could have had access is gone. So she has a completely isolated system, basically right now. So, it's a pretty serious situation we're in. And I think that's all great because this is humanity's opportunity to actually create the world that we've always wanted. So that's where we're at. We're moving forward with a unique opportunity to change the world, right? And this means that the power will actually be back in the hand. For the first time in any of our lifetimes. And we actually have a country that is free. Now, I got to say, Thomas Williams last night on his call, he really made some great points about things pertaining to President Trump. Now, President Trump has been sitting on a letter of sovereignty for, America and, for the Republic now for 19 months. It actually restores the land of Washington, D.C. back to the Republic, thus eliminating any corporate control that we've been under. It would also eliminate all the UCC, guides and statutes and laws that basically have held us hostage. Now, in reality, if the Republic is back in force, then what should happen next is that we should go back to constitutional law. Now, allegedly, the Constitution has always been the law of the land, but clearly, based on what's happening in New York State, and they just today, the RFK Jr., he went into Albany again last week, and when he was there, we were waiting for the decision, and they decided against it. So they decided not to, pass the injunction or release the injunction so that these vaccines would stop, and these forced vaccinations on these kids in schools that they're actually trying to impose on our children without any consent of the parent. They are just going to, do it, and I guess they're going to tell them to keep a secret, which that to me is very dangerous when your public officials who work at the schools with our children are able to do this kind of thing to our children. Now, that's very, very dangerous. And we actually put together a little video today, sent it out to President Trump, and we told him, please, it's time to stand up for the people. It's time to actually take a stand for the Constitution. Now, in my opinion, if we're talking about the Constitution, let's just think about it. This is the governing law of the land. No matter what, that is the law. So you're not allowed as a state government to make any law that violates people's constitutional rights. By the nature of jurisprudence, it says that any law that is made that violates people's constitutional rights is therefore a no law. And there's no way to enforce it, and we do not have to abide by it. So they cannot say that this is a law because it violates our constitutional rights. Now, the people that make that law are then in a position where they can be removed from their office by the militia. And this includes the civilian militia. And this means everyone is actually part of the militia, because all of us have got to draw a line in the sand where we say that is enough. You cannot pass this line. You can't go any further. Now, we have got to draw that line in the sand right now and take real action to say we will not allow you to violate our constitutional rights, because if we don't, we will lose our constitutional rights. By not speaking up, we waive them. So we've got to come together. So we're doing our best here in New York, and I've got a great, amazing group of mothers who are working, and I say mothers, but they're very prominent professionals. So I don't want to just limit. I mean, being a mother by itself is amazing, but they're not just mothers. They're also professionals. So professional mothers are the most dangerous people on the planet. And right now we have about 26,000 kids that have been removed from school whose parents they're not allowed to send them to school anymore, right? Because they won't get vaccines. Now, we broke this into pieces today, and we kind of showed all the different things over the past 2 days, talked about these vaccines. Now, we showed some of the things, right? And I got to do a little, Twitter back and forth with a bunch of retards that were out there talking about, that they diagnose cancer early now, and that's why there's more deaths from cancer and all these things. Okay, this is nonsense. First of all, we know that there is a vitamin called B17. B17, it mixes naturally with a component that's inside the cancer. When it mixes with this component, it creates a selective arsenic, which is a poison that breaks up the cancer. And then it naturally goes back to the natural substance in the body. The arsenic is eliminated, and then it naturally breaks up the cancer and releases it from the body. Now, the 45 or so original scientists who discovered this, they suddenly found, themselves dead, right? Back in the 40s. But not long after that, after World War II, you had all these Nazi scientists come back and they implemented the AMA. This is not conspiracy theory. This is an absolute fact. We also know that there's several different treatments that work to cure cancer, but there's only one treatment that's used that we know has never cured cancer, which is chemotherapy or radiation therapy. These therapies, even oncologists said back in 1985 that they themselves would not recommend chemotherapy or radiation therapy for themselves or their family if they got cancer. And I'll bet you today even less so. And on top of that, what we just recently learned is that the oncologists themselves are actually incentivized for prescribing these very, very expensive, $40,000 per treatment on chemotherapy. Now, doesn't anyone else see that as a conflict of interest? If we know that there's better therapies that exist, and again, let's see if he comes on. Dan, you're on the front lines. What's going on? Dan is there. I can see his face. Maybe I'll share his screen so everybody can see it here. I'll put him right up there.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
This might work better.
All right, let me just make sure people can hear you. Perfect. Here, I'm gonna put your face right on there so everybody can see you. Oops, no, I'm not. I thought I was gonna, but instead it's a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
That didn't work. Okay. Anyways,
whenever you can, is mounted about 6 inches away from the microphone is probably good.
no, you're coming right through my computer. It's fine. I just share the volume from the computer. No problem. So everybody can hear you if you're clear.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
So man, I was actually just going through some stuff.
Saying
Oh, man.
you said the James Diamond from JP Morgan was asking for
Yes, Dan, I think what you said was Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase. He did contact Kimberly Ann Gogan, who is the trustee for the Manna World Holding Trust, which is it's a central bank, or the central bank of all central banks, including the Federal Reserve, which has lost its charter and has no ability to do anything. So the Federal Reserve is just a building that they don't even own anymore. And actually, I would love it if they were just removed from that building. But they're useless, basically. And all the other central banks that are loyal to the Rothschilds, they have no power either. So there's been, they came to Kim and they basically identified that $220 trillion in derivatives, which are basically, the bank's bets on the future, are about to hit the public. And they don't even have the money to pay back the money that's deposited by the people in their accounts. So what do you think about that? I bet you're glad you don't have banks now. You don't have a bank now.
Yeah. On X22 report, they pointed out that the building.
Damn, what did you say? The X22 report? What? Oh, I got to tell you right now, I appreciate Dan Lutz so much because I do this to him all the time. Call him a bad connections. He's a saint. Lutzenberger, are you there? I know he's trying to get it.
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
I'm in crypto. I'm good.
Okay. So what did X22 say? Sorry. Well, now I'm going to
We've got a very big delay. I said the X22 report shows that it's basically pointing out that the QAnon has always things and kill Brown.
That QAnon has what? Oh no. I really want to know what he's saying too, but I don't know. So now I'm going to have to go hunt down the X22 report and find out. Okay. No problem, Dan. Gotcha. All right. So Dan said he's going to listen later. So now the reality is that this stuff is starting to hit the mainstream, right? Now, we know this. There was just threats that, by the people in China that they were going to have a run on the banks. We know that France actually 2 weeks ago, there was an attempted run on the banks. Now, just consider, I would tell everybody, you might want to take out enough cash. Now, if you have significant cash in the bank, you should probably remove it. I would recommend. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that, but if you just have, if you're living week to week and you got $1,000 in the bank, I'd probably take it out just to have it so you have cash. I don't know what's going to happen exactly with the, public banking system. I know that there are other pieces in place, but I would definitely be aware that this is a real crisis that's pending, because all the other things that are happening that are great news and Epstein, all that stuff stops if the banks collapse. If there's no money and there's nothing moving, everything will stop, and it will be chaos. It will be the zombie apocalypse. Everyone will be rioting in the streets, because that's what happens. Now, they think they want that, but they'll be the first one killed, right? So I guess there's an upside that, like, you'd probably get rid of a lot of bad guys really quick. But then again, we're going to lose a lot of regular people too. So we don't want that, right? So we wanted the banks to just cooperate with us so we could just change the world together, right? And do amazing things. But they're a pack of douchebags. They don't care about anyone. They want to control everyone. And most recently this week, I dealt with one of these groups. And when I dealt with them, what happened was they told me they were so important. They had the best technology in the world to make transfers. They had everything. And they made sure to let me know that if there was any flags on our record, that they would drop us right away. So we waited. And when I talked to him, I got done. He was convinced that I knew what I was talking about. And then he talked to Kim. And by the time he talked to Kim, he was pretty much like, Kim, you are the smartest, prettiest, most amazing woman I've ever spoken to in my life. Okay. That's basically what happened. But then he went back to the NSA, and the NSA ran a report. Now, I know that because Kim told us that they ran a report. And they sent one of their minions back to us and said, okay, well, if she's real, now, first of all, she's real. Bobby, she's real. So does the NSA. As soon as they ran the report, they knew she was real. So your sources at the NSA are most likely corrupt, because they probably told you something like, yeah, she's real, but. Now, here's the thing. That but they've been able to use against her, because you said you wanted to help people, but you didn't want to help people. If you said you didn't care about the money and that you wanted to help people. Now, if you wanted to help people, you would have come back and said, hey, we'll make it happen, because we'd already made plans. You were going up to Kim and she would activate it on the spot. But instead, you came back with hey, Kim should move $50 million to an unknown account for a guy that we only have the first name for. We don't know the name of his business. We don't know if the technology works. And on top of that, we don't even know what the attorney is. And they just wanted her to move money. So all we did, Kim explained it very clearly to the gentleman on the call, told him, go get this information. Tell him we're not just moving this money for that. That's never going to happen. And you know what they did instead? Do you think they chose the people? No, they didn't choose the people. So now they're on a blacklist, because now we'll never do business with them again. And so they can continue to devour themselves in the same circle of nothingness that they now have, because there's a ever shrinking pot of money that they're all going back and forth with. But eventually they take that money and put it back in the system. And when they put it back in the system, the quantum system just takes it, because it's not theirs or because it's fake. It just takes it out. And that's the real draining of the swamp. So the swamp is very drained. Even, matter of fact, for someone like me to have spoken to the a representative from the central bank, one of the major signers on incoming transfers, and also one of the Dragon family members for the alleged Chinese elders. But it's all Rothschilds. It's just different factions of the Rothschilds. And you know what? Last week they had this big meeting where everybody met about everything, and they were all working on all these things. And you know what happened? The Rothschilds turned back to all the people that they've held hostage, and they said, you guys come up with a plan. Wow. That is awesome, because it speaks to they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing, and they can't control the money. And everybody in authority and every government in the world and every one of the banks, you all put your trust and faith in these people. But we've been giving you an option. And now you're out of options, because you ran the world into such an incredible deficit that you've actually put yourself out of contention to do anything to help the world. So now you're going to scrape to survive, because the banks are about to collapse. And the people are going to be furious at you about that. But I guess we're going to make sure that money comes in for projects, and we'll be creating jobs, and we'll rebuild the world from the ground up. Now, we do have very detailed plans. I've heard that, I've talked to Kim before about this. We have extensive plans. At least my team does. We have extensive plans. We've already put things in place all over the world. Matter of fact, I just spoke to an incredible woman, and I wish I could share the details of her incredible plan. But she's created basically a safe haven for all those, the kids that need to testify against their, the horrible people that have molested them, for whistleblowers, for anybody who's willing to speak the truth, she's made this incredible oasis, and she just needs, funding to protect it. And I'm so happy and excited to be part of that with her, because these are the kind of things that change the world. And that's what we're about. We are about changing the world. So it's so exciting to me because we get to build from the ground up. And whatever the banking system is, you know what, right now, at the end of the day, Kim has the final say as far as how the money moves and what goes in. I have a general idea of how that's going to work, but, and a couple different things have been put in place. But all I know is that we get to decide. We get to decide what the world's going to be. And everybody out there who wants to change the world, you can. How amazing is that? So there's nothing that you could give in this world better than what is about to be given. Because I was thinking about this today, that I'll be able to let my kids know they can do whatever they want. They're unlimited. Their potential is unlimited. They are unlimited by what they can do. They can make whatever they want because they are naturally creators, and so are you. So this is a call to all the creators, right? The real creators who have a better way of doing things and you've been dying to bring it out. You can reach out to, you can go to speakproject.net, and you can reach out to admin at speakprojectmedia.com. You can also go to Stephen Rowe, that's STEFFEN ROWE at create, KRE, the number 8, the word change, .today. You can email me your projects or whatever you want to do. Those things are, we're a little overwhelmed. I'd prefer that you go through the, go to gocamelot.com. It's just an easier structure, and we're going to have you go that way anyways, because everybody in our network we're going to fund, we want to make sure that they're willing to operate according to ethical guidelines, right? Because what we don't want to do is turn right around and give money out that goes right back to the people that have been stealing it from us, right? So everything has to be really built from the ground up and sourced from the place where it comes and owned by the people in that area, right? So we're redistributing the wealth and the ownership of these different groups. So it won't be just a few guys at the top who own a franchise of 10,000 Starbucks, right? It'll be local coffee houses and local restaurants and local factories and locally owned, right? It's the people there on the ground. They'll be doing the work, and this has been the system. Now, that means the projects will take a little longer. But you know what? We'll be able to put money out and get people to work right away. And it'll be real jobs where people can, have one income, support a family again. And we can return to, a lifestyle that is nurturing and encouraging to human performance and human growth, and allowing humanity to thrive instead of spend every day chasing after money so they can just barely survive. So that's where we're at. And so this is the front lines for today. And, Dan got cut off with his internet, but we'll get him up and running tomorrow. And please, everybody, Dan was here. He'd say like, share, tell a friend. And, let's try to get the message out. And by the way, we're going to sue YouTube, put things in place to actually go after them for censorship and various other things, being that we can prove beyond a shadow of doubt we have no copyright violations, and we also have no community violations. And the Speak projects should not be blocked, but we are nonetheless. And you know why? Because they don't want the message to go out. And I actually went in depth about this. They call us conspiracy theorists, but reality, think about what a conspiracy is. A conspiracy is where, there's some secret agenda, or people believe there's a secret agenda by the, powers that be, that usually have to do with political or corporations with people with lots of money that are making decisions to have some clandestine plan, right? But there's not really much evidence of it. And there's lots of other, ideas that are more probable, right? Well, if that's true, let's think about it. Is it us, like in the Q movement, in that group, like is the Speak Project, are we conspiracy theorists? No. We back things up all the time. We pull evidence from the CIA library. We bring out confidential documents. We bring out congressional documents. We back up every single thing we say, and we give you proof. And they look at us and think we're crazy. But look, they're crazy. The mainstream media is constantly perpetuating that the president, despite 7 investigations done on him by the FBI and whoever else investigated him, Congress, they all investigated him. They all came to the same conclusion. There wasn't even a misdemeanor offense. What would be the idea that, why would he be impeached right now? The only reason why he could be impeached is because of their conspiracy theory. So they think that he is pushing a white supremacist agenda to secretly become the dictator of the country. That's why, he is so hard on illegal aliens, because he wants Americans to be first. This is their conspiracy that somehow this is immoral. This isn't in line with the American dream. The fact that he supports the Constitution, all these things, that's their conspiracy theory. Now, the reality is they're garbage. They're completely consumed. So when we give them absolute facts, including 7 investigations, how can you deny it still? How could you possibly not support this president? All he does is support and push and press for American people. The conspiracy theory is that he should be impeached. That's it. That's a conspiracy theory on the Democrats' part. So the mainstream media is pushing a conspiracy theory. It's just the truth. So you have to go to alternate sources to get the actual real media. And we will hold you accountable, YouTube, for doing this. And we're going to come and make sure to file lawsuits against you. And we'll see what happens with Facebook, but we're going to go that way. So we're going to, kind of take the stance of judicial watch, right? And just do our best to get those pieces in place. And we have already, proposed a project plan to restore all of the legal aspects or lawful aspects of our government to return to constitutional law. Because right now we are in the midst of a constitutional crisis, but it has nothing to do with the borders. The borders were always supposed to be secured. Always. That's what makes it America. If you remove the borders and just say, hey, free borders, everybody come in, it's not America anymore, right? Then it's just part of a bigger continent, which means it'll be chaos. Now, the freedom of speech and freedom of the press, the whole lifestyle that we love, it's protected because we have borders. Because the Constitution only controls and only works as the law of the land inside of these borders. So all these things that they've been pushing and trying to go after, they're trying to make you think that the Constitution is a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's the law of the land. It's the actual facts. So what's happening in the government has got to change. What's happening with all of our lives has got to change. We got to take accountability 100% for what's going on, because at the end of the day, the only reason why they're able to do this is because we let them. So please be encouraged. The world's changing and you can be a part of it. And that's where I'm at. Everybody have a great night.